Book of Manuscripts, Chapter 15, Scroll of Kulok, Sections 2 and 3. Thus it is written on the tablets of fate, whatever may be accomplished at the sun rising, let not the sun setting find undone. When you build, build as forever, and your fame shall be sung among the great in the everlasting halls. He who has done you one good turn will be more ready to do you another than will the one to whom you have done a good turn. Expect not that the deeds of men should accord with the dictates of reason or be ruled by consideration of right. There are men who live for themselves alone, and their souls are smothered in the deadly winding sheet of selfishness. There is no greater loneliness than that of a man who lives for himself alone. He looks about him and says, all men seek to do me wrong. All men seek to be over me. His life is a problem, and his days are filled with anxiety. He says, what if tomorrow I shall not eat, and furtively steals from his friend? He hoards that which he cannot use. His soul is twisted and ugly. His countenance is mean. His days are a burden, and his nights sleepless. He deals harshly with those under his hand, for secretly acknowledging his own inferiority, he distrusts all men. These things are written in the third section of the Scroll of Kulok. Consider the petty man. His deeds are mean, and his manner servile. His heart shakes in a small breast. See him among the concourse of the people, and his eyes shift from side to side. He shuffles about his affairs, and his path is not straight. He is spiteful and malicious. Like a snake, he crawls in the dust, ever ready to strike blindly at those above him, not knowing that their eyes are fixed far above his element, and he is unseen. He gossips and prattles like an idle woman, and men look down upon him. For his ways are those of a half man. His pettiness is an irritation to all. His residence is a place of torment, for his wife despises him, and his children are wayward. He has no friends, and men visit him for naught but their own benefit. His time is occupied with matters of small moment, and bigger undertakings overwhelm him. The deeds of greater men he cannot understand, and therefore derides them. Consider the vulgar man. His voice is loud, and his words bawdy. Like the ass, he laughs without understanding. His tongue rattles in his head. He makes noise, but not sense. In his ignorance he pushes himself forward, when, with his meager talents, he should remain behind. The tongue of a vulgar man betrays him, and holds him up to mockery. His companions are petty men and hypocrites. He is jovial in the midst of sorrow, and speaks loudly when others whisper. He is a man afraid of silences. He is a man afraid of himself. He has no understanding of the innocence of children, and no respect for the modesty of women. He is a man well left to himself. Consider the cowardly man. His mother does not grieve at his absence, for she is ashamed of his face. His father shuns him, and he becomes the companion of hypocrites. His wife goes in fear of every man, while her thoughts turn to better men. His children are mocked, and his father insulted. His son has to establish his place, and his daughter commands no respect. For a coward, to marry is a wrongdoing. He has no friends, for all men avoid him. His manner is furtive, and he slinks from place to place. He can put on a bold front, and may deceive foolish women, but underneath his heart is craven. Put to the test by men, he is found wanting. Consider the man of no account. He is improvident and wasteful. He speaks of his own importance, but deceives none but himself and the foolish. The easiest person for any man to deceive is himself. The man of no account walks the marketplace to buy a stone. Without merit himself, he appeals to the deeds of his forefathers for credit. What good is it to the blind man that his father could see? What benefit to the illiterate that his father could write? In what way can it raise the standing of a man of no account if his father's father was of good standing and repute? Is it not more to his discredit that he is what he is? He who walks in the shadow of his father's reputation has none of his own. He who establishes his reputation upon that of another erects a building without foundation. The ass of Pharaoh is still an ass. A worthless man does worthless things. His death removes an encumbrance from the earth. Consider the man of honorable estate. His wife is fully married, and not made ashamed by a life under the double law. His household is well fed, and his servants obedient. He uses his strength to protect the weak, and his arm is swift to right an injustice. He remembers that the greatest injustices are wrought in the name of justice. He does not permit the weakling and hypocrite to rise to high position by cunning. He seeks out wickedness to destroy it, and cannot remain passive in its presence. His children are dutiful and obedient. His fields are well cared for, and his estate prosperous. His treasures serve the good of the people, and promote contentment and harmony. His riches are not spent selfishly or foolishly. Consider the courageous man. His wife holds her head high, for she is proud of her standing. She fears not the lewd look of base men, nor the mocking smiles of women. The courageous man has many friends, and men turn to him in times of trouble. He is as a rock among raging waters. He is the shield of the unprotected, and the sword of the weak. His arm is steady, and his thoughts clear. He walks among the people with head held high, for he fears no man. Lesser men give way before him, and he is followed by the admiring glances of women. Consider the half-man. His ways are the ways of woman without her charms. He sickens the stomachs of men, and women turn from him in disgust. He is ever treated with scorn and contempt. He fawns and makes himself lowly, that he might please true men. He is unclean within, and filth lurks on his lips, ever ready to fall and pollute. He is small-hearted, and seeks his pleasure among vile things. He is an abomination to true men, for he is a man in form alone. As his vile thoughts mold his speech and actions into a mockery of womanhood, so do they twist his soul into an image of horror. He who is not wholly a man is no man. He who is the companion of half men is a half man himself.